Hey, what's up guys? Garden here, coming guys with a brand new video today, and today we're going to be doing an updated deck profile for my Hexaorb deck. So of course Hexaorb got some new support from set 2, A Brush with the Legends, and it's pretty nice, and I'm really excited to show you guys this deck. So without further ado, let's go into the deck, and I'll show you guys what I'm playing. So to start with, for the ride line, we have our starter, which is going to be the Tri Connect Sorceress, most fitting I think. Then we have the T-Square Sorceress for grade 1. Then we have Pentagleam Sorceress for grade 2. And then, of course, we have Hexaorb Sorceress for grade 3. So, of course, T-Square giving us the draw for a Counterblast when we ride the Pentagleam on top. And then we have Hexaorb, which can allow us to stack the top 3 cards of the deck when we ride on top the Pentagleam. So, very, very good. Very, very effective as well with that stack. Definitely going to be focusing around that with the deck like we did with set 1. But we have got some different changes and different plays that we can do with this stack now, which is pretty cool. So that's it for the ride line. So for the main deck, we are playing the 3 additional copies of Hexaorb Sorceress so that we can actually, facilitate the Persona ride that we need for her skill, her second skill. But do remember that the first skill is active on the grade 3 turn, so if we can stack some triggers at least, we can get some extra power going and still smack face on the grade 3 turn, which is very nice. So 3 extra copies of Hexaorb. Then we're playing the 3 copies of Lepisto. So I decided to drop Lepisto down to 3. She's still one of the main focuses of the deck, but I feel like she's a lot more powerful when you're doing it on the Persona Ride turn, when you can get the restand with her, since you're getting 2 uses out of that Persona Ride power instead of just, the regular 10,000 power. But yeah, she's still really good. Counterblast 2, so it is a bit expensive, which is why I did drop it down to 3 copies. Since the Diaglass Sorceress, the grade 1 that we got from set 2, does require Counterblast for her skill. So I feel like she's still good. She's still a key card for the deck. Gives us extra attack, extra pressure, and like I said, very good when you do it on the Persona Ride turn. And then next for resources, we of course have the man himself, Fosado. Still really, really good because it's providing us on-hit pressure and getting us a counter charge and a soul charge. Both resources of which are really important for the deck. So definitely want to maximize out on these. And then of course the resist skill to combat against any control matchups, which is very handy. So 4 copies of Facade. And then finally for extra resource management, we're playing 2 copies of the Octadevote Sorceress. This is a new grade 3 that we got from set 2. So when your dry check reveals a trigger, if your Vanguard Hexaorb, you can pay the cost of retiring this unit to get a counter charge or a soul charge. So you get to choose between the resources, both of which are useful obviously. So for the most part, I'm using this as an extender to basically allow myself to do the Hexaorb play, since you can retire this to get the counter charge when you see the trigger, and then since you saw the trigger, you can now counterblast 2 to restand the Lepisto. Also, just in general, when it comes to the resources that we need for the Lepisto, you may remember in the first deck we were playing Fachita, which was a grade 1 that could give us the counter charge. But the problem with Fachita now is that she requires 2 Soul Blasts, which we need to dedicate that soul for other cards in the deck, like Olwein, which is a new grade 2 that we got. So it's quite nice that we have Octadevote as like an alternative way to enable the Lepisto plays when we only have 1 CB left over for her. So it's still an enabler to allow us to do the Lepisto restand, which is very, very nice. So 2 copies of her just to go alongside with Lepisto. So next, of course, we have the grade 2s. We are going to be playing 4 copies of the brand new grade 2, which is Exquisite Knight Olwein. So Olwein is really, really cool. Her ability is that when she's placed on the Regard circle, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb Sorceress, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up the 2 cards from among them, put them on the top of the deck in any order, and then put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So you're basically stacking the top 2, basically. You look at top 2, put them on top or bottom, really, really good. Gives us more chance to see triggers, obviously, and also stacking that deck to allow Hexaorb's ability to go off more often, giving us more power. So very, really good. The second skill is when your dry check reveals a trigger unit, you can counterblast 1, and this unit gets 10,000 power till end of turn. You don't really use this too often, but it can come up when you're going for a push turn. You might as well devote all your resources at that point, especially if you feel like you don't have a next turn after that. Spending as much resources as you can on this, since it isn't once per turn, can give you a really big all-win, and then all that power that you accumulate could be enough to pressure lethal to the opponent and hopefully win games. There has been situations where that has come up, where I just go all out. I know I don't have another turn going, and yeah, the all-wins get really, really big, especially on a Persona Ride turn as well, and then the triggers giving it more power. yeah, that extra 10k can actually go a long way. So do keep your eye on it, but don't devote like all your CB to it. Do prioritize stuff like your Diaglass Sorceress and also your Lepisto. So yeah, 4 copies of the Olwein, very very nice support card. And then finally for the grade 2s, I am playing the 3 copies of the Pentagleam Sorceress. Decided to put the extra 3 copies of this in the deck just because it does a few things. The first thing is that it provides us more stacking effects, which we do need. But it's also just free to use. It doesn't require any resources to do this effect. You just call it to Regard, and there it is. Also, being a grade 2 means that we can use this in the early stages of the game to have a bit more of a grade 2 game and pressure the opponent a bit more, which we can facilitate quite a bit because we do have some 8k boosters to go alongside this. And having that early game board state can also allow us to make our front triggers even more useful. So that's also really, really good. So 3 copies of the Pentagleam to go with the one in the right deck. That gives us the 4 copies overall for the deck. So having these 3 additional copies for attacking pressure is very good to have for the grade 2 game. So next for the grade 1, we're playing the 4 copies of Diaglass Sorceress. This is really, really cool because it's got multiple applications in the deck that are just really, really nice. So when placed on rear from hand, if your Vanguard is Hexaorb Sorceress or Pentagleam Sorceress, you can counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, look at 2 cards on the top of the deck. You can call up the 2 unit cards from among them, call them to Regard Circle, and put the rest of the top of the deck in any order. So the fact that you can do this on grade 2 or grade 3 is pretty cool. The grade 2 one is a bit more difficult though, just because you do need 2 counterblast technically, since you'll need 1 counterblast for the T-square Sorceress with a draw, and also when you're riding the Pentagleam Sorceress on top of it. But yeah, you'll need 1 counterblast for that, but then you'll also need a second one for the Diaglass if you do want to do it on that grade 2 turn. But you could also just decide not to use the T-square Sorceress ability. If you prioritize the Diaglass more so, you can do that, but you know, if you do have the counterblast to facilitate both, you might as well. You're getting that early game rush, and you don't really need the resources too much on the Hexaorb turn, since you primarily need them for your Persona right turn. That's when the resources become more relevant. So even when the opponent attacks into those rears, it's okay. And it can facilitate more of an early game aggro, and also those front triggers will be more effective as well. So that's pretty cool. The other aspect of this is that it can fix your stacking. So when you do go for the stack 3 with your Hexaorb, when you ride on top of the Pentagleam, let's say you see a bunch of normal units. In that case, you could just call down the Diaglass Sorceress and then just call those normal units to the field and then have board presence. You've also just removed 2 normal units on the top of your deck, which means you have more chance now to actually see your triggers now for Hexaorb. So that's also pretty cool. So there's just a bunch of applications about this card that I like. And then finally, it is basically just a stacking card, right? It is a CB and a discard, so it is heavy on the cost there in comparison to stuff like the Pentagleam and the Olwein. But it's still just another card that we can use to stack the deck, and that's good at the end of the day for Hexaorb. So yeah, absolutely love this card. This is probably my favorite support card that we got from set 2 for Hexaorb Sorceress. So definitely pick this up if you're looking to build Hexaorb Sorceress. So for the next red one, we are playing the 3 copies of Painkiller Angel. The main thing with this is it's kind of the same aspect with Diaglass, because let's say you have scenarios where you're stacking the deck, and then you actually see a piece, or you see, like, I don't know, let's say you see a Hexaorb Sorceress on the top of your deck. So you need these for the Persona ride. So if you see those while stacking, or anything else that you might want, you can use Painkiller to, like, force draw into them, which is very good. So it can fetch pieces that you see, but it's also just really good in this meta right now, since Leonard and Brees right now is just very brutal against any deck that has columns in it. So Painkiller, to be able to have that utility about her, but then also get rid of herself to facilitate that draw, is just very nice, which means those Leonards can't, like, attack into it and then, attack 2 units. It does mean that, when you do go with the Diaglass Sorceress, they can bully her, but I feel like she's good enough to be bullied, right? Like, her skill's good enough that you don't mind too much about that. You would rather have the ability to use this than worry about that too much. But it is nice that we can play around that sort of player with the Painkiller Angel, but even in matchups where we're not worrying about Leonard, Painkiller's just nice. to fetch pieces from the deck and also get rid of cards from the top of the deck that we don't want to be drive checking into. So that's also really, really cool. So yeah, 3 copies of her. I've had more plays with her than stuff like Tartine, for example. Tartine, I just feel like it's just too slow because it comes in rested as well, and also Soul Blast, and I feel like it just feels too slow to me. And I'd rather have the access to the boost from her when possible. And also you could do the shenanigans with Hexaorb, obviously, to give the Rearguard booster the power to make the Vanguard attack more scary. So having access to more good boosters, I feel like is just better in my opinion. So finally, we have the Perfect Guard for the grade 1s, wrapping them up. Yeah, don't really need to explain this, say this every time, but yeah, PGs, they're good. Play them. And then finally, for the triggers, we are playing the 4 copies of Disma from set 1, and we're also playing the 3 copies of the Gurgant to wrap up the crits, which we're only playing 7, because we are playing the brand new front triggers, which are really, really good, because these have an extra 5k shield with them, with their ability. Yeah, 20k shield are nice. It does say your opponent Vanguard needs to be grade 3 or greater, but that is fine because it makes the grade 3 turn a little bit more bearable whilst you're sat on grade 2. But yeah, fronts are just good overall since we do have the ability to create early game board presence now. And also the fronts being able to be stacked from Hexaorb's ability is also really nice. You do this when your opponent's at 5 damage and, you know, they're just crying because they've got such a large amount of power to worry about. It's great. And then, of course, stacking the crits is really good when your opponent's at 4 damage because that will apply lethal, and then they have to, like, you know, guarantee block that one, right? And then if you see any more crits after that, that's just even more scarier that the opponent needs to worry about. So, yeah. So the fronts and the crits, obviously you're going to be using those to stack with Hexaorb and just bully the opponent, basically. And then finally, with triggers, we, of course, have the Over Trigger. This card's just nutty with this deck. You know, restanding Lepistos with it, getting extra twin drives is just insane, but it's really fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's really fun to do it, but it does feel like a massive blowout that just wins you the game. There has been times where it hasn't 100% won me the game, but it has put me way ahead of the opponent, more so than I would have if I didn't get it, right? But the fact that this deck can stack and see this, it's a major challenge to whether if you can keep a straight face or not. Like, you need a poker face when you see this. Don't get too excited. Try keep a straight face and put this to the top of the deck, and then you can, you know, show your emotions when you actually try check it, right? So yeah, this card's really nutty. Obviously, we're going to play that in Ket Sanctuary. Then last but not least, we of course have our heals, the Circuling Sorceress, to go with the Hexaorb theme there. So yeah, that's it for the deck. Really happy with it. I was thinking a lot on this because I didn't know what direction to go with it since I saw a lot of iterations on this deck. And I do feel like the Lepisto build is just the one I prefer, just in conjunction with the new additions of like Diaglass Sorceress and also the Olwein as well. As long as you're managing your resources well, you shouldn't have too much confliction with these. But yeah, just keep the Lepistos for the Persona Ride turn. Since that's when it'll be the most effective, and then outside of this, use your counterblast obviously for Hexaorb herself, but then also to like just get pluses out of your Diaglass Sorceress, so basically, or getting stacks at the very least. So yeah, having a lot of fun with the deck, and obviously the other grade 3 to keep those cheeky countercharge plays available during the battle phase for the Lepisto feels very nice as well. So Vegeta still lives on, but just in a different card. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck. Tell me guys what you think about it in the comment section below. And I'll probably come at you guys with a Nirvana deck next, I think. I think that's the next deck I'm planning on playing a bit more. And yeah, I'll bring you guys a deck profile on that once I am ready. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys. This is Guardian285, signing out.